everybody, and welcome. Thank you for attending the Virtual College Exploration Series for all Illinois students. I want to give you a few updates as we get started today before you start hearing from our presenters. Number one, your camera and your microphone is off today. So if you're looking for the mute option or the camera option, don't worry, you won't see it. And so what we ask you to do today, as you have questions or any comments, things like that, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type your questions in there for our presenters. As you can see, as you registered for this session, there's a lot of other sessions for you to consider as well. So please sign up for more sessions on IACAC.org. Or if you're unable to attend a specific question or session, you can go ahead and watch any of the recordings as well, as this recording will be available as too within a week. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our wonderful presenters today. And thank you so much for being here.
All right, well, welcome to this session. My name is Dane Rowley, and I work for California Lutheran University, and if my fellow presenters want to introduce themselves really quick.
Sure, I'm Rachel Gustafson. I'm with Augustana College in Illinois.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Wagner, Director of Admissions at St. Olaf College in Minnesota.
All right, and kind of embedded within our presentation, we're going to be talking about our specific institutions so you can have some context for the kind of institutions we are and what this means for us to be a Lutheran College network or Lutheran colleges. And so the title of the session is Why a Lutheran College Might Surprise You. And so hopefully through this process, you'll learn a little bit more about what makes Lutheran colleges like ours unique and how they might have some features that you haven't quite anticipated, both on the academic and the student services side as well. So first, I'll just introduce a little bit about my institution, California Lutheran University. We're a small private university, obviously a Lutheran institution. We're in Southern California. And one of the newest of the Lutheran colleges, where you'll find out that we're over 100 years younger than some of my colleagues. We were established in the late 50s. We're really close to Los Angeles, but not too close. We're an hour away from LA. About 30 minutes from the ocean. What that means is we really provide a great balance between safety and a really nice suburban environment, as well as access to all the great things in Southern California, the internships, the science, the research, the entertainment, the culture, and also some pretty nice weather as well. We're a very diverse campus. Over 53% of our student body come from traditionally underrepresented backgrounds. And so you'll find students from all different countries around the world, faith perspectives. About almost a third of our students are the first in their family to go to college. And, you know, our location really also enables a great balance between kind of academic, living outside and kind of outdoor activities. One kind of funky highlight is that our football stadium also houses one of our 3 art galleries on campus. And so you can kind of see that blend, which I know Rachel will talk about as well as a hallmark of Lutheran education, which is balance. So speaking of Lutheran education, I studied history, but I don't want to bore you with all of the historical context, but it is helpful to understand the tradition that Lutheran higher education comes from. Started in 1517 on Halloween when Martin Luther had 95 questions, his 95 theses, and kind of wanted to start a conversation about things that he didn't see as going exactly right within his own church body. Well, they excommunicated him. They tried to kill him. In 1522, he decided the Bible should be read by everybody. And so the fact that we have, within the Christian world, have access to sacred texts in our own language, we have a lot to thank Martin Luther for that. In 1832, the first Lutheran college, Gettysburg College, was established in the United States as a wave of immigrants from Germany, from Scandinavia started coming throughout. And then in 1970, women were ordained to the priesthood in the Lutheran Church, and then in 2010, the church made a change to be able to ordain anybody who wanted to serve, whether they fit into some of those gender binaries or not. And so now the church has many, many pastors who are represented within that spectrum, LGBTQ plus folks. What that does is really shows you that there is deep roots within our traditions, but there's also an openness to change. There's an openness to accept, to be more inclusive. And with that, there's 3 things I wanted to chat about really briefly: our foundational values, The idea that we have room at the table, and then also that we're constantly changing. Questions are more valuable than answers in Lutheran colleges. It's not a place where you're going to have professors tell you the answer. It's a place where they're going to really challenge you and inspire you to ask big questions without telling you what the answers are. And that may be different than what you might think from a church college or from a Christian affiliated campus. Academic freedom is really important. And so professors who come from all different faith perspectives and philosophies are going to be able to share their ideas and their opinion without a church body telling them what to think or what to do. Again, think about those ideas from Martin Luther of challenging authority and asking questions. Also, one of the hallmarks or the foundational principles of Lutheran colleges is that gratitude and appreciation for what you have drives your purpose and your passion to develop your academic and your professional skills, and that we want to share those gifts with the world. Another idea is the room at the table. And I found a picture of a faculty at Cal Lutheran with some students at a table. This idea that there's always room to bring up another chair for another group of students or for an individual, and that all are welcome as they are. There's no requirements based on your gender presentation or identity or your religious tradition or philosophy in order to be welcomed at a Lutheran college. Some really key questions you can ask as you're thinking about your university search. There are many, many religiously affiliated campuses across the country: Lutheran, Catholic, Methodist, Presbyterian. Knowing kind of what that means for you, a couple key questions. Number one, is chapel required? Do professors have to sign a faith statement? And you'll find at almost all Lutheran colleges, the answer to both of those questions is no, that we want you to have the free will to attend services if you want, but it's not something that's compulsory. And again, we don't have professors sign any kind of commitment to any faith tradition. So you'll find professors at all of our campuses who come from traditions in the Islamic faith or Jewish or non-religious, or professors you'll never know what their personal beliefs are because they're teaching you biochemistry, and that may not play into it. So the other question of, what if I am fill in the blank? What if I am non-Christian, or what if I'm agnostic, or what if I don't subscribe to any of these things? Great, you're welcome as you are, and there's always room at the table. And then we think that Lutheran colleges are transformational, really helping students develop core skills that will be useful throughout your life in business, whether you want to be a doctor, whether you want to teach or work in global affairs. The ability to be able to interact with people of different backgrounds and philosophies in a really safe, welcoming environment is really powerful as you move towards your future career. And companies are really looking for young people who, when they graduate from college, don't just have the technical skills, but actually have the skills to negotiate conflict with people of different faiths and cultures, people who can kind of weave in and out of different cultural dynamics. And of course, as we look at the Black Lives Matter movement, we look at racial tension and healing, we desperately need people in our societies and our businesses who know how to interact within that diverse framework and be able to really value other people that come to the table with them. And the last thing, 3 things, I hope that as my colleagues also share their thoughts, that you've answered these questions for yourself. What does this even mean? Why does this matter in your college search? And should you care about these things? I think that from my perspective as a graduate of a Lutheran college, it's really enabled me as a non-Lutheran to be able to thrive and be able to navigate some of those things that I've talked about, and those soft skills or those essential business skills that companies and universities are looking for. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to my colleague from St. Olaf, Dave.
Thanks, Dane. So what I'd like to do is speak for a few minutes about sort of the institutional identity at St. Olaf, very similar to what Dane did. Talk a little bit about how religious life plays out at the college, and also how we think about vocation and how that can impact your time after you would graduate from a Lutheran college or university. So very quickly, St. Olaf is a school of about 3,000 students, and we are just south of Minneapolis and St. Paul in Minnesota. In Northfield, Minnesota, where there are 2 excellent liberal arts and sciences colleges. Carleton College and St. Olaf are essentially a mile apart, which I think brings a really interesting dynamic to the community of Northfield, to have a diverse group of students from all over the US and all over the world coming to this small community. A few hallmarks of sort of a St. Olaf education. We are really focused on providing students with a really rigorous liberal arts education. We were founded by Lutheran Norwegian immigrants, and I'll speak more about that in a moment. We have a huge focus on multiculturalism and internationalism, and pretty much everyone lives on campus at St. Olaf in community. So we think that your education should be about more than just your education. We think it should be about living and learning with others in a diverse community. So a couple of quick fun facts about St. Olaf. If you are interested in math and science, it's an exceptional place to be. 40% of students major in one of those areas at the college, and we are ranked, I think, on the list of colleges sending students on to earn PhDs, number 12 for sending students on to earn PhDs in all fields compared to other liberal arts colleges, and we're ranked very highly in the sciences, so I think that's a great testament to sort of the outcomes of the St. Olaf education. We have a huge study abroad program. So we think not only should you come and live and learn in community, but we think it's hugely important for you to go out and experience other people, cultures, and places around the world. So in any given year, St. Olaf typically sends the highest number of students to study abroad internationally of any liberal arts college in the country. You may have heard of us. We also have a very strong reputation in music, and about a third of students are involved in music on campus. So we have 8 choirs, 2 bands, 2 orchestras, and 3 jazz bands. So there's no shortage of opportunity for student musicians. Dane, if you can go to the next slide, that would be great. As I said, we were founded by Lutheran Norwegian immigrants, and the college has very actively decided to maintain an active religious affiliation. What I think that means for students is that if you are broadly interested in religion, both as something personal to you, your experience, your value system, and your life, it can be a meaningful opportunity. But also if you're broadly interested in thinking about the role that religion plays in our country and plays in our world. St. Olaf takes a very strong sort of interfaith approach and welcomes students from all kinds of different religious backgrounds. So we do have 2 campus pastors at St. Olaf. We also have a rabbi and a very well-respected Islamic scholar who provide support and services and space for students to worship and engage meaningfully with one another. So students, I think that going to a Lutheran school gives you an incredible opportunity to meet people from all kinds of different backgrounds who are going to really engage meaningfully in conversation with you about life's big questions. And I think ultimately that's what provides a lot of meaning to your experience if you were to go to a Lutheran college, is that it's, as I said before, it's not just about going and taking classes, and it's not just about thinking about what do you want to do with your life. It's really about thinking about who do you want to be and what are the values that guide you in who you want to be. How do you surround yourself with others who see you fully for who you are? And how do you challenge others to really engage in your local community and or your global community? So this is our chapel on campus. I think the flags are a really cool sort of unique testament to the focus on interfaith and inclusion, and the fact that people from all kinds of different religious backgrounds are welcome on campus at St. Olaf. And you can go to the next slide, Dane. So I want to speak a little bit for a few minutes about the idea of vocation. So students, after the economy crashed in 2008, there was a huge focus on careers, jobs, and practical training to set you up for success after you graduated from a college or university. I don't think that that was bad. I think it made a lot of sense. I think it was a very practical response to a lot of people losing their jobs and economic turmoil. So all colleges and universities have career centers, but one of the things that I think really differentiates and makes Lutheran colleges different is, again, this notion that it's not just what you want to do, it's what do you want to be, and what is the voice inside of you that is completely unique to you, telling you about your unique skill sets, what you're really strong at, what you enjoy doing, and then thinking really actively about how you can connect that to something meaningful. So vocation is really about thinking about what you are called to do and how you will make a difference in the world. And I think that adds tremendous dimensionality to your experience, because it's less about, I think, coming in and having a set path. Although certainly there are some students who do that, but I think we really think that your 4 years at a Lutheran college should be really formative. they should challenge you to really reflect on things that are important to you. I think you should be open to experiences. You could take a class from a professor who has a profound impact on your life or how you think about your future. So we think that the 4 years that you spend at a Lutheran college can be hugely formative. So the way that this kind of plays out at St. Olaf is there is focus on helping you with your vocational discernment throughout your 4 years. So when you come into the college, the Piper Center for Career and Vocation does all kinds of workshops and sort of introductory sessions to help you really think about yourself and your strengths, and to think about how to navigate your experience at St. Olaf in an interesting way. Starting in your sophomore year at the college, there's this amazing vocational retreat called Quo Vadis, in which the college essentially brings in alums who are working in all kinds of different fields and different areas. And it really is about storytelling. So it's about not only what do you do and what is that experience, but what was your journey and how did you get there? I think it's easy sometimes to think that there's a super clear path to like a vocational attainment or a career or a job. And oftentimes it's about connections, and it's more of like a dotted line or a squiggly line. And it's about experiences and people who shape you, which I think is really interesting. So I think connecting to alums is something that's hugely important. The college also developed a really cool series, sort of a vocational reflection series called Connections Programs, in which students take it a step further, and small groups of students who are now sort of have expressed interest in particular fields go to different cities around the US and meet with alums who are working in different fields. So once you start to sort of hone in on more specifically what an area might be, what area might be of interest to you, I think these are amazing programs. So for example, a group of students went to Seattle, and half of the group was focused on tech. And so they were meeting with people at Amazon and Microsoft, and half of the group was focused on public health and international development. So they were meeting with people at the Gates Foundation, at Agros, at World Vision, different players in the field of biotech and or public health. There was a program that went to New York that was focused on finance. So people were meeting with alums who were working on Wall Street and different firms. And then there was also a group of students who were hugely interested in the arts. So they met with artists, dancers, actors, and musicians who were working actively in the field. So I think of vocation as something as a listening process. I think it's super important to listen to others' experience, but I think it's really important to listen to yourself. And I think that that can be challenging sometimes. So what the Piper Center for Career and Vocation is really focused on is really helping you sort of step back from the noise and the pressure of find a job, find a career, and focus on what really provides meaning in your life, what provides enjoyment, what's intellectually stimulating to you, and ultimately, what is the voice inside of you saying about how you want to go on and make a difference in the world. I would close with this as an interesting like sort of concept or idea to think about. Let Your Life Speak by Parker Palmer is an incredible resource. It's super accessible, but it really sort of lays out the ideas of vocation and provides sort of an interesting framework and even some exercises for people to really engage in self-reflection in a really meaningful way. So I would close by encouraging you to pick up a copy of that book. And I think the earlier you read it, the better, because I think it can help guide and help you think about your experience in college. And with that, I will turn it over to Rachel.
Thank you, David. That was really helpful information about vocation, and I think very true of how all of the liberal arts colleges and Lutheran colleges approach vocation. So thanks for sharing that. I am, again, Rachel Gustafson. I am in the admissions office at Augustana and want to share with you just a little bit about Augustana College and our identity, and then talk some about how the liberal arts and Lutheran colleges promote balance and how we feel that that's an important aspect of a Lutheran education. So Augustana College is in the Quad Cities, and that is an area that borders Illinois and Iowa. We feel fortunate to be in a big metropolitan diverse area of about 400,000 right on the Mississippi River. We are a school of about 2,500 students, and you can go to the next slide there, Dane. A big hallmark of our Augustana education is a small class size, small student to faculty ratio, and mentoring by our faculty. We also are a very open and inclusive campus with an emphasis on diversity. We do have students from over 40 different countries, and about 40% of our students are from underrepresented backgrounds. So we are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and value diversity. We want every student to have a sense of belonging at Augustana College. So that's very important. We are also residential. So most of our students do live on campus and take part in that campus community, which is also an important aspect. We do have a large percentage of our students that do internships, study abroad, take some time to spend off campus, traveling, seeing the world, and bringing that back to campus, those experiences. So we'll talk a little bit about that with balance. So Dan, you can go to the next slide. So we are committed to our students, as are all of the Lutheran colleges, and really focus on the idea of balance, because we are committed to the development of the whole student, body, mind, and spirit. We find many ways to play that out on our campus. Student life emphasizes activities that encourage this connection. Our students are very active, involved, and ambitious, both inside and outside the classroom, and really strive towards excellence. So you can move on to that next slide, Dane. Definitely committed to excellence inside and outside the classroom. And there are so many ways that we can really encourage our students to exhibit balance, whether that is in the opportunity to study more than one area, to really double or triple major, that mindset of being inquisitive and really asking questions comes back to our Lutheran roots. So our students are able to combine areas that maybe wouldn't necessarily be seen as going together. If that's the arts and sciences, perhaps that is wanting to teach and explore other areas at the same time. So definitely an opportunity to explore multiple areas and find the connections among those areas. That might be through our honors program or our first year inquiry sequence, but our students are really encouraged to find those connections. A lot of our students also find balance outside the classroom. So whether that's having fun, whether that's being involved in sports, music, leadership, campus ministries, there are a number of different ways to do that. So definitely competitive athletics is important to many of our schools within the Lutheran tradition. Talented fine arts, as David mentioned about St. Olaf, and also at Augustana, and I'm sure Cal Lutheran's strong fine arts programs are a hallmark as well. So whether that's choir, band, orchestra, the arts, we have many ways that our students can pursue that as part of their balance in college. Campus ministries are also an important part of that in terms of leadership, involvement. We do have several different religions that are represented within our campus ministries program. So we do have a Lutheran pastor on campus, but we also have representatives from some other backgrounds as well. And I think that's important to find that students find balance by participating in campus ministries if they choose to do so, but again, certainly not required. Our students develop a growth mindset that's feeling transformation that will help them transform the world. So that could be displayed through social justice, through volunteerism. That's an important aspect as well. Our students are encouraged to study abroad, to do research, to do internships, as we talked about. And that's an important part to balance their time on campus with those experiences that will help them really see the world. For many students, that inspires them to different careers, that inspire them to lifelong travel, that will inspire them to really explore alternate career paths. As we said, it's not always a straight line, but sometimes a crooked line in terms of how they get there. Study abroad, research, and internships can help students find that career path and help them in terms of balance while they're on campus. Many of our students are involved in social justice, whether that's on campus or in the community. But that's an important aspect as well, that our students really explore how they feel about that, helping to really convey their ideas, to think broadly, to really be open to others' ideas as well, and then to go out into the community and really be a beacon for some of those ideas within the area that they live. So those are some of the ideas in terms of balance and what we really hope to instill in our students in their time on our campus, and some ways that they can take that and live that balance out and help grow them in mind, body, and spirit as well. So that's the basic, I think we've all three covered some different aspects of Lutheran education and what that might mean for students and how that's conveyed on our different campuses. I'm not sure if there are any questions that anybody has. I don't see anything in the chat, but this would be a great time to ask those as well. Dane and David, do you have anything to add there?
One thing I wanted to mention that I should have mentioned at the beginning is the wide network of colleges that are actually part of our Lutheran College network. So there are institutions that are on the East Coast, schools like Wagner in New York City, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Gettysburg College. There's some schools in North Carolina. Then you have quite a few that are in the Midwest, like Augustana and St. Olaf and many other colleges. On the West Coast, there's only a couple of us, Pacific Lutheran University and Cal Lutheran, and then in Texas, even there's Texas Lutheran. So you'll find in every climate, in every region and geography of the United States, you'll find schools that are in this network where you'll find some very similar kind of touch points. We all have very unique campuses and cultures and curriculum, but there's kind of in our DNA wired all these things that we've talked about the balance, vocation, and inclusion. So it really enables you to have a college search that can include 27 different colleges that again might be a little bit more than you might have imagined. So I wanted to mention that wider network as well.
Dane and Rachel, I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit about what the actual sort of academic study of religion looks like on both of your campuses. I think that's something that we didn't really go into a ton of detail about. And as you know, someone who went to a big public high school and had never taken a religion course, it was really interesting for me to sort of encounter that in college. Would you two be willing to sort of talk about what that looks like and what that experience is like?
Sure, I can talk about that and then turn that over to Dane. We do offer quite a few different courses in religion at Augustana College. And in fact, students are required as part of the liberal arts to take some religion classes there. And students do have a wide selection. So they can take a Christian class, a history class. They can even study religions around the world. So there's quite a wide variety of what students can explore from the academic side of religion at Augustana College. We do also offer a major in religious studies, and we often have students that pursue a pre-seminary track as well, wanting to continue on to seminary. So that would be some of those ways that students can study religion as part of the academic program.
Yeah, similar to Cal Lutheran. So we have built within our what we call our Core 21 or our core curriculum or liberal arts curriculum, students have to take 2 religious studies classes. And one important thing to note about studying religion at a Lutheran college, and I think this is true of Jesuit Catholic colleges and other types of schools, they're different than what you might have gone through if you're a religious person, maybe through confirmation or catechism or other things. It's not religious education, it's religious studies. And so for Cal Lutheran, for example, every first year student will take a Religion 100 class, which is an introduction to religion. And you'll explore different themes from different religious lenses. There's a section that professors will teach on death and dying. And one of the professors I know uses Harry Potter book 7 to talk about death and dying, and students will read that in addition to sacred texts to look at how different cultures and backgrounds look at this idea of death and dying and the afterlife. But what that first class does is it gives you a toolkit and a way to learn how to study religion, how to ask those questions in a way that's both academically rigorous, but then also is respectful of different religious traditions and beliefs. After that, you have one more religion class to take, and that could be anything that we offer in the entire department. There are classes that will actually kind of double dip with your major. So if you're a business major, you can take a business ethics class. If you're a science major, there's kind of tension between science and faith, and there's classes that are team taught by professors in philosophy, religion, and science. And you also find at Cal Lutheran, you'll find professors within our religious studies department who represent Jewish traditions, Sikh tradition, Buddhist tradition, Jewish and Muslim traditions, and so you'll find, as well as Christian professors as well, you'll find a lot of different, very well kind of skilled academics as well as theologians, and so it's a really vibrant campus atmosphere in terms of the academics. I think where students sometimes find discomfort is they're expecting one thing and they might see another. So we find that students who may come from a very religious background, have been very active, sometimes they find that studying religion from an academic perspective is a little bit uncomfortable. It might cause them to not question their faith, but it might cause them to answer or to ask questions that might push them deeper beyond what their comfort level is. It's not about questioning faith, it's about learning how to really dig deeper and understand what religion means for us in a modern society. And so that's where I sometimes we see students kind of wrestling with that a little bit, that they're expecting a Bible study class, and that's not what our institutions provide in that academic rigor. And like Augustana, we have a pre-seminary track. We actually, as part of our university, we have a campus that is the Lutheran Theological Seminary in Berkeley, California. That's actually part of Cal Lutheran University, even though it's the opposite part of the state. And so for students that want to go and pursue seminary, there's that seminary as well as several others throughout the country, whether it's Lutheran or non-other traditions, will prepare students for that as well.
Great, thank you. That's, I think, super, super helpful. Students, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat.
So I have while we're waiting for any other questions, what was your educational experience? Did you attend the institutions where you work? And have you also attended any other institutions and maybe see some contrast there? I'll start. I guess I'll start. I started at a very large private university that was not Lutheran, that was a different religious tradition, that was much more expressly religious in that tradition, where you weren't really free to question or explore, and that was not a good fit for me. And so I transferred to Cal Lutheran, and I'm a graduate of Cal Lutheran, both bachelor's and master's, and really found as a transfer student a great environment where I could spread my wings in much more inclusive ways than I had experienced before.
Dana, I like this question because I think it's getting to that like story idea of like vocation and how that informs how we see the world. I was bound and determined not to go to St. Olaf College because I grew up about half an hour north of St. Olaf in the suburbs of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I was very involved in music and theater, and everyone said, well, you should go to St. Olaf College. And I don't like being told what to do. So I did not want to do that. But I looked and I visited, and I had known some teachers and alums who had went there, and they all seemed like just really wonderful people. So I did go to St. Olaf. I did have a fantastic experience. Students, I think when you're looking at schools, I think it's super important that you feel comfortable showing up as your full self. But I also think it's important that you choose a school that's going to push you and challenge you in meaningful ways. And I felt like I really found that at St. Olaf. St. Olaf showed me the world. I mean, literally, I did a program called the Global Semester and was able to travel around the world in 5 months, studying, I think, in 8 or 9 different countries. And that had a huge impact on my life. So I went and I worked at a theater company after that to answer the question of, do I want a career in theater? And the answer was no. And I came back and I started working in admissions, and it's amazing work. It's both intellectually engaging, it's people-centric work, it's representing an institution that you care really deeply about. So after working at St. Olaf, I then decided I was really passionate about higher education, about policy, about practice, and specifically about internationalism. So I did a graduate program at the University of Minnesota while working at St. Olaf. And it was really interesting to me. It, in some ways, sort of debunked some of the myths that I had about a big public university. My graduate program was a really small cohort of people. I think there was like 15 of us. And we found great community with one another in this huge, huge setting. But I will say that navigating the U as an institution required a lot of wherewithal, a lot of independence, and you really had to work sometimes to, I feel like, navigate the system. And so to me, it really made me appreciate when I was at St. Olaf, not that St. Olaf like held my hand through the 4 years, but I always knew that there were people I could go to who would take an interest in me, both as a student and as a person. And if I needed something, they were always there to help me. And I feel like not having to navigate the system really opened up my mind, my heart, like to all of the things that St. Olaf was, and really let me focus on, ultimately, I think in retrospect, really important things. It was really long-winded, but I was a theater major, so that happens when you start talking sometimes. Rachel, tell us about you and your journey.
Sure. I actually did attend Augustana College, and I attended due to the academic strength of the programs and due to the opportunities to travel and study abroad. I was actually a French major and business major, so that was a big important aspect for me, and I did get to do that. Studied in London for a semester while I was at Augustana, so opened my mind that way. I came from a different background. I was not a Lutheran student coming to Augustana College. I actually came from a Presbyterian background. So I was a little bit challenged by the idea that I would have to take some religious classes when I was at Augustana. But turned out it was really a great way to learn how to explore my ideas, to learn to be open-minded, to learn to be challenged. And so that ended up being an important part of my 4 years at Augustana as well. And then I did go to graduate school and got my MBA from a big public university. And that was quite different. Nobody asked me about my ideas at the Big Ten school. And so I really, in retrospect, valued my Augustana education even more and have actually spent most of my career in admissions. I do have a passion for helping students and really seeing how an undergraduate education like Augustana's can help transform lives. So I have been here almost 30 years and have seen that happen with so many students. So it's been a real blessing. So that's a little bit of my story. And I think we're running up against just a few more minutes left, and I don't see any questions in the chat. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to add. I know our IACAC person was going to jump on here and just do a little bit of a wrap up. So if you guys don't have anything else to add, should we invite her back to do that?
Thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate it. And thank you all for a great presentation. As we wrap up today, I just want to share some more info. And so, as I mentioned earlier, thank you so much for participating in this experience. I hope that you will provide some feedback on a quick 4-question survey that will appear right as you close this window for this program. Also, sign up for more sessions if you liked what you saw today or you want to explore some more areas. Go to iacac.org and register there. And this recording will be available. So in about a week, you'll be able to log on online and be able to see this session again if you'd like to go back and rewatch it, or find any other sessions that maybe you've missed so far. But thank you all so much for being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.